I was right here with my garbage bag. This is where I was. I felt it begin to shake. And that's when I thought this could be it. This will be it. Faith does not operate by what we see. We see what has happened. We have yet to see what will happen after. And I just believe that what will happen after will be much better than what was there before.
We're on a mission to understand what it takes to rebuild a nation. What is the X factor that the people of the British Virgin Islands have to not only survive one of the world's most devastating hurricanes, but to actually be stronger on the other side?
On September 6th, 2017, around 10:15 in the morning, my wife, my daughter, my twins, we huddled in a room awaiting a hurricane called Irma. Who would know that minutes after and moments after would change our lives forever? My wife's from Chicago, never experienced a hurricane ever in her life. My kids wondered, what is a hurricane, Dad? Me at this point, I've been through 6 hurricanes. But something felt different. At 10:15, we huddled in our room waiting for the passage. And then the moments, the clouds started to roll in and the noise started to come. And it just seemed like this hurricane was a bit different. What happened then, our room, that's the wall that separated our room, crashed down. And we were forced to have to run upstairs to my parents' house to try to find cover. At that moment, we were then surrounded by my mom, my dad, my brother, his wife, and my niece. All 10 of us huddled in a room. As the air pressure began to build, our ears started to hurt. And the vanity that, in the Caribbean, our parents have this where they hold their special dishes that no one can use. It started to break, and a little bit of peace came and said, I told you we should have used these dishes. But we then had to run to the dining room table. All glass had exploded. And as we ran back to another room for cover, we realized, and I heard a sound that I've never heard before. A sound that even today echoes in my mind. The sound of a roof, your protection being ripped away from you. At that point, I told my dad, my brother, we have to leave. We have to run. As we started to run and try to make our way back downstairs, as we passed my old room where my mom still has those embarrassing pictures for me from high school, the roof escaped, and as it blew away, I saw my dreams, my trophies, and those embarrassing pictures also went. But we had to clutch our 2-year-old twins from being sucked into the room. We were able to just simply make it downstairs under the steps. All 10 of us were now trapped in a room no bigger than a cell. Water started to rise, and we tried to escape, but the water had swollen the other escape of the door shut, and we had no way. At that moment, as we sat there, my dad and I bracing the door, my brother holding the twins, my wife, and all of us huddled as the water filled in the room. As it began to get hot and musty, we wondered, wow. As we heard our neighbors crying and screaming for help, we realized that this could be the end. At this point, I became disgruntled with God. I was like, God, of all the days that I would die, why a Wednesday? I wanted a more glamorous day, like Friday or Saturday or Sunday. But in all that happened, I felt all hope was lost. So as we said our prayer, and my niece began to sing, I felt a peace that if I died, that I died with the people I loved. But as a last bit of hope, an opportunity to believe, I said, this was not my end. This is not how I wanted my story to end. So with that in mind, I said, I don't want to die in this room, in this manner. So I started with a little space of 10 inches or less, banging my shoulder against the door. My brother started to come and help, and as I realized that this was not the end, I visualized my family being back in our home at Christmas time, sitting together. Then a thought came to me. This is not my end, but as the moments came and followed, and I realized the destruction and the trauma that had hit Tortola and the British Virgin Islands, and 97% of the homes were damaged, and saw people in distress, I was like, this cannot be our end. See, my friends, no matter what you're faced with, you have to begin with the end in mind. Regardless of the situation that you're facing, you have to visualize an end that's greater than your current situation. Now you might say, well, how is that possible? In the midst of this situation, I had to force myself beyond the destruction, beyond the pain, beyond the depression, to think of an end that was different. I had to start with visualizing an end that was different than my current situation. And that allowed us and the country to start to rebuild. But this is not just germane. People all over the world have started with the end in mind. They get a picture of a reality that's totally different from what they see now, what they experience. And that end forces them and challenges them and shapes worlds. Walt Disney had an end. He had a vision of a place where children could come and be happy. Now we're able to enjoy it. Steve Jobs had an end where he saw a device not just being able to do things, but be a part and incorporate in our lives. And now we all enjoy it. Martin Luther King Jr. saw an end where people of mixed races could dwell together in peace and harmony. He wasn't able to live to see it, but he saw it in his mind. The end is important because it allows us to do a number of things. It allows us first and foremost to change our mind. If you are able to change your mind with visualizing an end, that is the part to healing that's so important. That allows us to get past the pain. Now, it's not easy, but it's necessary. It also allows us to change our behavior. If you are able now to visualize an end that is different from what you're currently facing, then your behavior now starts to be shaped by this. And also now your emotions. These play tricks on us at different times. Sometimes we're happy, we're sad. Our current situation says that we should be depressed, that we should be sad, we should be downtrodden. I saw it for the months after Irma. People were distressed and hurt, and we lost hope. But every time I was able to visualize this end, where our country was restored and people and families that were displaced were reunited, it gave me a hope that allowed my emotions to be transformed. And it's possible, even for us. So I ask you, what is the end that you visualize for yourself? And how can we make that end start to shape in our minds, our behavior and emotions? But most importantly, you visualize and you get that end into your mind, and you have to visualize it so often that it becomes a habit. Even though you haven't realized it or tasted it yet, you visualize it so often. You think about it so often that you can feel it, that you can touch it, that you can taste it. And that end now becomes slowly your reality. I saw it. Now we're on the verge, almost 12 months after Irma. And we are now living in our end. Me being on this stage and being here is a visualization that hope is possible. So regardless of what you're going through, if you are able to get an end in mind that is more hopeful, more peaceful and challenging, then that allows you to be able to triumph overcome and heal, but most importantly, do amazing things. You should and can start with the end in mind, but make sure that end is transformative, hopeful, and is enough to encourage not only yourself, your family, but your community.